Hey, how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I am Halo Marquise, the Jedi Alchemist, founder CEO of Mistech. Um, pretty pretty amazing biotech company. We've had a very interesting month right now. So thank you everyone that's been a part of it, and from the festivals and the online and the interviews and just everything's been very incredible as it has been. But thank you guys. So tonight, and we've kind of touched base on this here and there, but tonight I really want to get into breaking down, catalyzing the steps you have every single day, catalyzing your experiences at work, catalyzing your conversations with loved ones, basically just learning to control your catalyst. Okay. Now, just because some people may not know what that is, I'll go ahead and jump online real quick. A catalyst is a substance that increases the rate of a chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent chemical change. Now, that's a pretty profound idea, right? And we have this thing, I guess, as part of the program, as I like to say, that makes us not look at ourselves in a alchemic way, even in a chemistry way, and an electrical way, and all these different parts of us being these human components that we are. We absolutely work in the same way as so many of these other systems that we just ignore, and we don't put that context into our regular pattern or our regular day to day. So your catalyst, right, is in this context, they're talking about a chemical reaction. Now, if you've been on the show before, or if you're new to the show now, surprise, we like to compare everything to everything else as a way of getting the ego's opinion and emotional state out of the way, right? So, in the same way that I talk about us being an electrical being, that we have all these different systems that the medical industry acknowledges, from endocrine to skeletal, the nervous system, so on. But the electric system, the energy system, the closest thing we have to anything like that is acupuncture. But if you treat the body in the same contextual way that you would treat another type of circuit board or electric device, then you have to come to the terms and understanding that all of these things at some point can short circuit, and all of these things can have interference that confuse the way their signals work. So in that same way that these other electrical things, other circuit boards can have that happen, because we have that system within our body, whether we talk about it or not, is still something that affects everything else within our system. So Alchemy 101 is really a show about contextualizing and breaking down all the components of your life, of the items or foods or whatever it is that you have in your day and your life, and really breaking it down to its base component. And when you look at it that way, the emotional opinion kind of dissolves. And once you're able to do that, then you can get down to the catalysts that are within your day, the patterns that impact everything that you do. So tonight, controlling the catalyst. We'll start with this. So one of my many job titles that I love giving out to people is wizard, right? And I say this in the way that, by all means, I'm miles to go to be anywhere close, but they call Tesla wizard, not because that he could do magic, but his understanding of science and technology was just different and had tangible results and things that could be tested and measured and so on. And because it wasn't understood in science, they would say he was a wizard. A lot of things that I do, not just with the biotech company, but with the Reiki practices, the energetic practices, all these studies, I love to tell people I'm a wizard. So part of my catalytic effect for my day, for that empowerment, for that ideal, for that I don't know, just enjoyment of it, right? So on radio, you guys can't see this right now, but if you're on YouTube with me right now, I have a very interesting round glass bottle that looks like an ocean bottle out of a movie. Really, really, really. That's what it looks like. And almost every single thing that I have within Mistech headquarters as far as drinking goes comes out of one of these potion bottles, because you were out with a wizard somewhere, whether it was in his home or elsewhere. What do you think they would hand you to drink? It'd be a type of potion. So to embody that idea and the magical fun of that, I have these in the HQ, and this is what everyone gets to drink, and it makes that experience catalyzed. It makes it impactful. It makes it whimsical and fun and memorable, and that gets us out of our regular mundane, poorly controlled patterns that we have. So catalysts that you have at your disposal are actually limitless, and it's just a matter of using your perspective and your open mind and your creativity that you have as this amazing creative being to take advantage of everything that you have in front of you at every moment. So we'll go with your job. Okay. Now, most people, when you get up in the morning, right now, I'm not talking about a career, because I'll say a career is more enjoyable than a job. So anyone that's out there right now that when you hear the word job, you're like, oh, that's me. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So when you wake up in the morning and you're getting dressed and you're eating your food and you're getting ready to leave, on your way out, at some point in your brain, you have that click, that moment, that almost desperation of, oh, I got to go do this again, right? Now, in that very moment, that is the catalytic effect that I'm talking about. Now, we usually don't, I guess, consider it in that context or look at it in that context, but that's what it is. This immediate response, because again, this is an outside force, right? From the definition, a catalyst is something that doesn't change itself. So the job, obviously, it's not changing, which is why you probably have the problem with it, right? And that's why it has its catalytic effect on your day, on your life. And you can decide to change that exact same type of effect to catalyze a level of excitement, a level of drive, a level of motivation that, without looking at it in this context, it's something of, well, everyone hates their job, or well, everyone goes through this. And it's just something that's taught to be an acceptable loss if you want to survive in 2018. And I'm just wanting you guys to know that that's really not the case. It can seem like a rut and a loop and a pattern and going nowhere fast and so on. But every single part of your life that's led you up until today has been at points some type of cycle or pattern that you just repeated over and over and over. And now here we are. And you can break that into by the minute, by the hour, by the day, the month, however you want to. You will see these patterns that every single one of us repeat, because this is our day. This is our routine. This is how it works. But if you're not using every moment and every experience, and I really do mean every experience, guys. I wish I had the opportunity to offer more people this option. But so in Portland, I've got the Order of Alchemy Mistech HQ, where we teach the Mistech business and process and so on. But also, because of the Order of Alchemy, we teach alchemy and wizarding and ways to manifest and meditate and really create a type of energetic field that will allow you to have every single thing that you could want. But these things come from direct, repeatable patterns over and over and over, because as these patterns are repeated, that's what creates your reality. So when I say controlling your catalyst, I'm really talking about being able to recognize every moment of really every day of everything that you're working on, so you can understand the ability that you have, the power that you have to take advantage of these things as a learning construct. So I was talking with a friend of mine today in Australia, and we were talking about, making these big decisions, right? Now, catalytic events that you have in your life, but because you get some control and some say over it, I won't say that it's a full-on catalyst, because you have the ability to change and mold it at your whim and that kind of takes away the control part of it. But anyways, so she was talking about, making decisions. I'm like, wait, you always make good decisions. And I say this when I speak with someone, and every time I speak with them, they sound excited. They sound happy. They sound like, even if they're happy. So to me, that sounds like success. That sounds like you've been making good decisions, right? Regardless of what anyone else might say. So that's what I, and she was like, well, no, I make bad decisions too, ha ha ha. And I'm like, well, yeah, but these bad decisions led you up into where you are right now. They led you to this happy place that you have right now, and you're still alive and you're healthy. And so to me, that would say you've been doing everything correct. You've been making good decisions. And she's like, oh my gosh, how do you understand and think the way that I think? And it's interesting to me that not enough of us think this way or consider this. So I don't know. Maybe it's a moment of being in a pattern so much that stepping outside of it for a moment seems a little scary, or it seems maybe disappointing because you're not doing what's expected of the people around you. But here's the thing, guys, as we're talking about those potential reasons or whys, excuses, whatever they are, those are, guess what? More catalysts. And every single one of those things has an effect on what happens to you. Are you with me? Are you understand what I'm saying? That means that just the moment that you get up and go to talk to your spouse, and that very moment, if your mindset, your pattern, because you're starting to look for these things, is to expect whatever they're going to say is going to create a reaction out of you, you can decide how that reaction is going to go within that moment. Now, this is where it gets really, really important. Earlier, I was talking about all the different body systems that we have, right? The endocrine, skeletal, so on. Well, all of these systems also relate to each other. Okay, so when I'm talking to people about Mistech and getting their protons aligned so their electric system is working correctly, that electric system affects every other system in the body, anywhere from 25 to 50% of what it's capable of doing. So in the exact same way of understanding your catalysts and your reactions and your responses, by understanding that and changing the way that you do those, even if it's just a little bit, because it's connected to so many other parts of your regular day and your regular being, adjusting the way that you react to these catalysts is going to carry on to so many other things that are going on in your regular day. Now, I don't want anyone's brain to hurt, and I don't expect anyone to get out any pen and paper, but what's interesting is, as we're talking about this, even that has a compound effect. So that means as you're looking for these catalysts and you're choosing to have these different type of reactions, those regular, like in real time, that moment, that's going to have a positive impact on your day already because you're making better decisions and better reactions, right? So that's already improving the way that your day is going, right? That energy buildup, it's already going in that positive motion, right? But now, because you're still recognizing these catalytic events and you're already on this really high positive charge, well, that's like a domino effect. That high positive charge creates an even higher catalytic effect, and that can just continue all the way through as long as you continue through with repeating that process. And that's what I mean by creating patterns for success and creating routines that are going to impact every moment of every second of what you're doing in ways that, without looking at this, guys, you have to understand, you're all the things that you look at in your regular day-to-day, okay? When you're looking at nature and you're looking at the trees, you can consider yourself in the same way that that tree is forming and growing and being nurtured and being grounded and having sunlight. You apply these same things to yourself, your life will improve. When you're looking at animals, just being natural, right? Not getting dressed up, not doing anything extra, not trying to impress, just being themselves, doing their thing. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And you do that to yourself and become your unique individualistic self instead of the version that's expected. And you will become happier. You will bloom in ways that you would not expect to. And the same way that we're talking about right now with electric systems, you consider yourself the same way you will change. It has to be something that you want as much as you want the next breath, right? That very fun old saying, but you have to want these things in that way, because when you want it that way, your awareness just blows through the roof. And when your awareness blows through the roof, you see every single one of these catalysts that are right in front of you. That here's the other thing, guys. As we've been talking about this, we keep talking about the reactive effect, right? What happens once the catalyst gets into your path, right? Once it gets into your life. But here's the other thing to consider. You also have the option of not letting these catalysts into your mixture, right? Into your life, into your day. And so this is the other really important key of this, of having that awareness, is that if you understand that all these different things are catalysts, you can then map out like what parts of your day are going to have the highs, which parts are going to have the lows, which parts that are in your regular routine that you already know have an effect on you, that you can make adjustments for, right? And once you make these adjustments, you can now choose to not have that experience in your day at all, or you can choose to have that catalyst have a different effect because you've now brought expectations into the mix. And that's how it works with chemistry. If you add different substances into the base, then the catalyst might not work the exact same way. Sometimes it'll be a more dull effect. Sometimes it'll be a more explosive. Sometimes it'll be a completely different color. So without knowing and looking for these catalysts in your day, you don't really know what's going to end up in your mix and what might explode in your face, right? And so these are the contextual ways that you have to start perceiving things once you start getting into alchemy, and specifically the alchemist. I mean, this is the base of everything, is breaking it down to the base simplistic form, without the opinion, without the judgment, and then seeing what's there. And if we do that with every single thing that we have within our day, our ultimate truth is always in front of us, whether we like it or not. So by choosing to control your catalyst, you essentially learn to control your emotional state, which your emotional state will affect your physical state, and your physical state will affect your mental state. So it's just something that continues to go over and over and over as you repeat the pattern. Is this making sense, guys? So we're going to go to a really quick break. I'm going to grab something to drink out of another potion, and then I'll be right back with you guys. And we're going to get into the 6 different types of catalysts that most people have throughout the day, and the best ways to avoid or add on to them within your mix. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, am I coming through okay? Can you hear me okay?
Check.
Hello, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
We had a section where you dropped out the signal is sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But for the most part, it's all right. But we're having some of those signal issues.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna work on my net, because on my YouTube, I'm still live there, but it's been real choppy and stuff. So I just wanted to double check.
Okay, but most of it's good.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you. You bring me back in.
Okay, I'll bring it back.
Thank you.
You are listening to Alchemy 101 on the Artist First Radio Network. All past shows are archived and available as podcasts. You can find them at artistfirst.com. And back to your host, Halo Marquise.
All right. Welcome back, guys. So yeah, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties there for a second, but I think we got it all squared away. So tonight, Alchemy 101, controlling your catalyst, right? The quick responses that we have, the things that come into our stream, our life that impact us, right? So right before we cut to break, I mentioned that I want to get into the 6 main catalysts that most people have, and the way that they affect your day, and the ways to either avoid them or add them more into your mix so you have more of these positive, wonderful things. And it's so important. I can't stress enough, guys, that the beginning, first 20 minutes of the show, I've been talking about the pattern. and the repetition. And I really cannot stress you enough how important that is. So the 6 catalysts, right? So the very first one, obviously, and everyone should know this, even though everyone doesn't have it currently, I would almost assess almost everyone has had it at some point. And so it's still something that's very important to recognize. And obviously that's a significant other. Right now, these wonderful people that come into our lives, whether it's for years or weeks or even days, these people that we choose to have this type of intimate relationship are obviously the most impactful catalyst that you will ever get in your entire life. There are people that leave their families, leave their religion, leave their job, leave their country, break the law. I mean, the list goes on and on and on for the things that we will do for our loved one, right? It's the craziest thing that we ever choose to do. But because of that, this is one of these things that you have to fully understand the level of, I don't know, catalyzation, I guess, if that's the word to use, of the people that are in your life, the things that are in your life. Now, it's very, very, very important that you have to be on the side of your team, okay? Of the number one catalytic, like, rule of control is making sure that you're on the side of the team, okay? Now, the reason I say of the team and not your team or her team or the we team is when it's on the team, that doesn't have any emotion attached to it. And if you understand that you and her or you and him, whatever contextual way that is, if that's the team, then what you're doing has to be what's best for the team, whether you like it or not. Okay, now you can know this, right? For all the people that are out there listening or with us tonight on YouTube, if you're listening with your spouse, fantastic. If you're not, it's okay. I understand. A lot of us have different interests in each other, and that's totally fine. But so you can know that these people are catalysts in your life, and if you both know, even better. But when you understand that concept, then you can approach your day with your loved one in a different manner. And it doesn't have to be weird and with a stick and with gloves and goggles on because we're talking about chemistry. It can be your exact same norm, your exact same conversation, your exact same breakfast, your same dinner, your exact same trips to the park, right? All those things can be the exact same, but with the approach of this person is a catalyst and can set you off. Now, setting you off does not have to be a bad thing, right? They can set you off as now you're laughing and having a wonderful time, and they just know those things to say, right? Now, if they know those things to say, as an individual, especially if you've ever done, or if not, I really implore you to do it now, doing a self-development program, you should know what those things are as well. And so if you know what those things are, it's very easy to not necessarily lead the conversation, but definitely don't divert the conversation from the things that you and the other person enjoy talking about, which I know sounds silly and sounds like, well, duh, but obviously we all don't do this thing all the time in the way that we could, because we get comfortable, we get complacent, and we forget about respecting ourselves and respecting the other person. So looking at it in this way of being for the team, then it should allow your brain to remove some of the ego and direct attachment from an emotional context to that idea and make the positive logistical idea be the correct one, whether it's what you want or not. And it's amazing because when you do it that way, you still end up winning in the long run anyway. So just doing it in this context, just saying, look at it this way. Because in the same way, you know what he or she doesn't like, right? Now, unless it's something that is a very important lesson or is something that is going to have a very big impact on your day-to-day, then these are things to avoid, obviously. But a lot of times we like to, and if you're doing it in good fun, I'm not saying don't have fun and flirt and be cute, push the buttons and do those things. That's okay. But we all know like the certain topics or people or jobs or family members or whatever that catalyze and set them off in the way that you don't want it to happen. So you can usually hear when these conversations are veering that direction or could. And if you have the ability to, then avoid it. And if you can't avoid it, then know that this is the usual response and this is the usual reaction. And again, if you're adding something different to this mix, then your reaction can be different and it can be surprising, it can be supportive. And that's how we have a better interaction with our loved ones. And that is the number one catalytic effect that we all have to deal with at some point in our lives, if not the majority of it. Now, this brings us to number two, which is children. Now, children is really important because I'm not saying your children. I'm saying children in general. Now, if they are your children, even better. But as life works, as children, you're going to come across adults. As adults, you're going to come across children. And whether they're yours or just some kid at the park, there's a catalytic effect that happens when children come around, right? And I challenge you, man, even myself, if you're not taking advantage of spending time with your children, then you're missing out on so many different levels of magic and pure joy, right? Because this is before the program has been completed, and this is before all that's been sucked away. So to be able to spend time with your children in a way without, I guess, recognizing that catalytic effect of what's going on and being able to relive through that children's eyes, even if it's momentarily, like that is such a huge thing that will bring you so much more energy, so much more excitement, so much love to your day that you, oh man, if you're not looking at it in this way, guys, I promise you, like try it for 1 hour tomorrow. Try it for 1 hour tonight if you have the ability to. And just the things that you can even learn, right? And because we get this thing also in our mind that once we reach a certain age, that we fake it the way that our parents faked it, that we don't have to really know anymore because no one does. We're a bunch of we're a bunch of broken children pretending to be adults, and I mean that majority of us, that is how it really works. Everyone thinks that there's some magic pill or some magic thing that happens on whatever birthday that now you just know everything and you know how to do business and taxes and pay your bills and that's not the case. We all kind of fumble through it and pretend we're doing the best we can until we sit down and decide to do a self-development project and we decide to learn about who we really are and what really is important to us. And if you go as far as getting into energy or spirituality, whatever it may be, like there's some very profound, interesting things about who we are and what we're capable of that just a handful of little changes in your perspective can have such a gigantic change on every single outcome of your day. And so with Alchemy 101, really what we teach and what we talk about, and you guys can check out the other shows that we have on Artists First. They're on the archive on our YouTube channel. You can look up Alchemy 101. You can look up Halo Marquise. And we have all these videos documented. And really, it's breaking these down into so many different perspectives that if you watch all of them, something's going to click. Something is going to pop. Something will change. I promise you. And controlling your catalyst, what we're talking about tonight, is really just another one of these perspectives that just is a little bit deeper look into how these things work. So we've covered your significant other, right? We've covered children. Now with children, guys, this is another thing. Some people, and I promise I'm not judging. Some people don't like children, and that's okay. If you don't, then understand that that's one of your catalysts, and just plan appropriately, right? And don't exaggerate things because it's going to make other people happy. Don't pretend so you can date the mom or dad of the person. Like, be legit about it, unless it's something that you know that you need to change and it's something you can work on, and then that's great. But being honest with yourself, guys, is the first, right? Out of the six, I'm skipping ahead right now. The number one thing is yourself, and we'll get to that. But you have to be honest with yourself first, and then that's when you can really take advantage of that catalyst. But so number six, significant other, right? 5, children, right? 3, job, right? Now, job, this is something that unless you're a stay-at-home mom, surprise, that's a job too. Just kidding. No matter what you do throughout your life, you will have something that's going to be a job, right? And whether it's something that you do want, you don't want, there's going to be all sorts of ups and downs, all sorts of roller coasters, because that's the way that this life works, right? So with your job, let's say you wake up and you love it, right? Now, you can already love it. You can already get excited about it. You can be getting your tie on. You can be shining your shoes, whatever it is, looking at yourself in the mirror, talking dirty. That's what I do in the morning. It's important, right? Whatever your little mantras and affirmations, whatever gets your day going while you're excited about going to your job. Understanding, again, guys, this concept of it being a catalyst, use that as a launch pad to the next step of whatever your career is going to be, to the next step of the evolution of who you are, right? Because I'm telling you, in my 164, 65 years, 37 Earth, of the time I've been here, the people I've seen be successful, the people I've seen make an impact, the people I see with the most loved ones around them are the people that are excited. It's literally that simple. On many, many shows, I've mentioned that I don't think people that are depressed are anything other than unexcited, unenthusiastic. And so if you can get excited about your job, not just because you like it, but because you understand that it is a catalyst, you can use this as a way to launch yourself into the next step of whatever your growth is going to be. As you're excited about getting up in the morning and going to the job because you're collecting a paycheck, because you're doing something beneficial to the world, because you're doing something that's getting you the car, whatever it is that it's doing for you, that is a process that's equaled success, right? And so that same idea when you're getting up in the morning, using that as a launch pad to go to the next step, that's going to be the next part of getting you whatever that thing is, right? Whether it is an education, whether it's more independence, whether it is a significant other. So you have to deal with that catalyst too now. Whatever it might be, your job is aside from the people that you have, is the most impactful catalyst that you have, right? And here's why. Because in that same way, if you hate your job, right? If you're going through the motions and the money's good, but you can't wait to get out, and every other week you're almost quitting, right? I've gone through that, I don't know how many times, but we go through that. It happens. Well, that, if you're not conscious of that catalytic effect, when you wake up in the morning and you're dragging your feet and you don't care if you brush your teeth or not, you don't care about any of these things because you hate it that much, that is catalyzing the effect of everything else that's going on in your life. And I promise you, it's stunning your growth with your significant other, or keeping you from being nice enough to being able to get a significant other, or keeping you in a place where you're too irritated to enjoy the beauty of your children. Like, these are negative catalytic effects that absolutely can happen. So you have to just be aware of these things and then decide on how you want your catalyst to affect you, how you want to react. So your job, man, if you can't learn to love it, at least learn to understand its effect on what's happening to you. And again, with that awareness, adding something else to this mix, that can stunt and dilute the explosive parts of it affecting the rest of your life, right? So your job is one of those ones that's kind of in between, right? Your significant other, children, these are ones that you should keep around you as much as you possibly can, right? These are the things that you should try to be as intertwined into your routine as you can possibly do. That those are ones to keep for sure. With the job, that's really one of those 50-50 ones. So that's a really tough one, guys. But as long as you're aware and cognizant of it, then you'll know the correct way to handle the situation. Number 4, right now we get to do some fun ones. We'll go. So toxic people in your life, right? Toxic people. So these people are usually, and it's gonna sound really bad, but we keep it 100,000 around here. We have to do it. So Toxic people a lot of times disguise themselves as your best friend, or they disguise themselves as the very attractive man or woman that's in your life, or the person that has the fancy toys, or whatever it is. There's some benefit that is so intoxicating that it overshadows their toxicity that they are actually putting into your life, right? Now, a lot of times, because we are who we are and we operate the way that we operate, we will make excuses for this catalytic effect that's happening. And guys, this is what I'm talking about. When I say that you can add another substance to stifle the way that the reaction happens in your life, you can do it for negative things that should be impacting you and affecting you in a much more negative way, just because you want that intoxicated feeling, whatever that this person is bringing to you. Does this make sense? So opposed to the negative people, or when people are saying weird things that you're just expecting that, so you're adding more positivity and more expectations. That's how it's going to go. So you don't get that negative impact. Well, you can have these toxic people are making a negative impact that in the exact same way you're creating this delusional imaginary version where those negative parts aren't being seen or acknowledged. So that's diffusing the catalytic effect of that reaction, right? Does this make sense? So what you have to do is look at parts of your day, right, where, as we all have our roller coaster, it's part of our cycle, it's okay, but look at the parts where do you usually feel lower in your energy throughout the day, right? Now, if you look at these things and if you're really paying attention, even as far as even getting a journal or taking notes or emailing yourself or texting yourself, I text myself, that's what I usually do, and see these patterns, and then look and see, is it every time you just got done hanging out with this person? Is it every time you just got off the phone talking with this person? And if that's the case, at that point, guys, we apply the Jedi standard of stepping away emotionally and looking at the math as the math. And if that is the scenario, then you simply remove yourself from that equation. You distance yourself from the toxic person as much as you possibly can and get that part of your energy back, that part of your life back, that you're not having to worry about any type of catalytic effect because it's now been removed. And if it's been removed, you're not having to add anything to it, which means you're not having to put any extra energy into it, which means your energy level, for one, but also your mind and emotional spirit aren't having to go into any of these things at all. So you just have all the benefit of removing these things once you understand the toxicity of it and become real about what that is. Um, five. Five is a tricky one. It's materialistic, right? Which in 2018, it's very difficult to live without, especially when everything has become so convenient and at our fingertips and all these things. Right? But we'll take as we're talking about material things, we'll go into social media. While social media is an untangible, social media now has directed to market and sell and trade and all of your information as much as possible. So it gets you access to different materialistic things, right? So Facebook, we'll use that one as an example, is this huge catalyst for the way that we operate in the 21st century. So you can be online, any social media, and come across a post of a friend, of an ex, of a company you like, whatever it might be, and just seeing these different either quotes or memes or videos or whatever can change your entire mood, your entire function, your entire mental state of where you were at, whether it's ramped up really, really high, or it's now drained, or now you're sad because you saw something in the in something happening to kids somewhere or to an animal or something. We just have this huge, I guess, draw or want, or maybe it's just out there just to distract us, of shock and awe. So we don't even know what it is we're going to come across these days when we're scrolling through our social media. That's terrible, and that's not true. And if that is true, then that's your fault. And it's okay, because we all make mistakes, and I go through mine all the time. If you're not learning something new every single day because you have social media, then you're not following the right people. If you're have the ability to be online and see something that can change the way that your day is going in a negative way, you're following and caring about the wrong things. So as all these things are at our fingertips, at our disposal, we can get any type of materialistic thing we want, period. It's just a matter of, can we afford it or not? And if we want something bad enough these days, we'll figure out a way to afford it. So your handheld device, right? As I'm talking about all these people that are the biggest catalyst, your handheld device is the thing that is the number one digitized electrical catalyst that you have in your life. Whether it's getting a text message while you're at the job and you're distracted at work now, right? Whether it's, again, going through social media, as we used as an example a minute ago, whether it's getting a phone call unexpected in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day. Just there's so many different things that, as we're not prepared, and I mean, that's fine, that's how life works, we just don't know what to do. And so as we have that confusion, that distraction, that disorientation, it's very difficult to land on your feet when the unexpected happens, right? But again, applying the catalytic idea, the catalytic construct to these things, right? Knowing that, all right, well, I'm going to check my phone right now, but I'm going to know if I see something that I'm still going to remain focused on X, Y, and Z until this time, right? So, easy example. My wife and I, we get to travel, not a lot, but often enough that we'll come back after a couple days, wherever, and we'll come home and we'll be unloading the car, and she'll always want to go over and get the mail, right? Now, after we just got back from a vacation, whether it was from driving somewhere, or flying somewhere, or whatever, I don't know about you guys, but I'm over wanting to do anything. Like, I need one day to just lay down and not do anything, right? Not even sleep, but just defrag a little bit. So I don't want to see the mail because I know potentially there could be something in there that's going to create a catastrophic event that's going to ruin the last part of my vacation without me being able to get any type of rest at all. So instead of letting it be an option, I remove it completely from the equation, and now there is no catalytic event, and I can enjoy my rest of my R&R. And then the next day, now I'm prepared to know there might be something in here that's going to be a catalytic effect, so I can prepare to handle it that way, right? So with your materialistic things, whether it's, again, your phone, social media, shopping, any of those things, knowing going into it that you might see something that's going to, I guess, impact, yeah, it's probably the best word, impact you, and in a way that's distracting or disoriented from your current path, then expect that and know that that's going to happen. And you can create, a little mental buffer of, well, I'm on a mission right now, right? And if you're not on a mission, then, know that. And then go crazy with all the catalysts and spend hours and hours and hours out doing whatever it is that you bring shiny to shiny, from catalyst to catalyst. Like that, that's also okay. What we're talking about is simply just being aware, right? And knowing that you can put these contexts on it as an alchemist and really make some changes that will apply to every part of your day. So number 6, which again, the most beyond, oh man, so important thing is yourself. Guys, we have the most amazing ability to trick ourselves into believing our own bull. We do, right? I do it all the time. I mean, look, I've got a potion bottle right now, tricking myself into being a wizard, but it works and it's fun, so we go with it. But I can say it in that context of knowing it's purely contextual, and that's okay. But there's faults that we'll have, right? I like to, I won't say exaggerate, but I like to embellish during stories to make them more vibrant, more colorful. just because some people don't have an imagination. So it's there's a reason for it. But we can work on these things. But you being the most constant that you have in your entire life, and I say you because when you even think you in your mind, that's a completely different voice than your outside talking voice. So there's inner you, and you guys both know what I'm talking about. So one of you is very, very honest all the time, and the other one that's louder, like me right now talking, is louder both inside and outside. So we have this ability to kind of manipulate and rearrange the truth to fit the agenda that we want, right? So as we do that, we're in this constant state of alchemy with our own mind, where we're always adding and subtracting different catalysts to get the type of result and mixture that we want. Exactly. Right. Now, that doesn't always mean that it's the result that we deserve to have or the result that is even best for us. And that's really what I mean by deserve, is if it's best. Right. I think we all should have whatever we want. All these things that we have here on the planet are all fruitful. They're for all of us. But I mean, is it something that's going to serve your higher good? Right. So consider this. While having a Lamborghini, I'm sure looks really sexy. It's really, really fat. And I'd love to drive one someday. Don't get me wrong. But if you live in a village somewhere and you work from home and you have a grocery store across the street and you never have to travel anywhere because your whole family lives in this village, there would be no reason, no purpose that would serve having this other than just having it. So that's okay, but that has to be the reason that you're doing it. It can't be, well, I see the car. And a lot of times, guys, that's a very far extreme example, but this is the easiest way to understand what I'm saying. We do that exact same thing on so many more micro levels all the time to try to get what we want, right? And a lot of times, this is one of my big ones, lying to myself about getting to work on time, right? Thank God I'm on my own company now, and I don't have to worry about punching in. But there were so many times where maybe I just wanted to take a little bit longer shower, or I don't know what I want to get for breakfast, and I'm just gonna waste some extra time, and I've got a good stack and get into work, and that's why I was late. And so again, I know that's not why, but no one else is there, right? So integrity, right? Doing what's right when no one else is around. That's the trick, right? Because if no one else is around, who's gonna catch you? And if you're not catching you and you're not being honest with that, then you can no way possibly be able to acknowledge the catalytic effect on yourself and that you have on your day. But when you're honest about this, and even the faults, because guys, even the faults are okay. Everything is a process. Everything can be worked on. When you understand it in that way, then you can take the faults and the mistakes that you have and figure out a way to make it a right. So, and that's the point of Alchemy 101, right? Turning your lead into gold. New to the show, one of the things, and go back and look at all the other shows, I promise, I don't really sleep. I'm very anti-sleep. I have a problem with this. I don't like it. Now, before I understood what that was, I grew up my entire life with what doctors say, very serious, very severe, terrible insomnia. And it sounds like a terrible, bad thing. So that would be a that's something that's affecting my life that is not going to change for me. That's impacting me in a negative way. And it impacted me in a negative way because I let people tell me it would impact me in a negative way. So I chose to believe that. And for a decade and a half or more, it did. But then I considered for a second, well, what if I use this to a benefit? What if while everyone else is asleep, I study and I read books and I watch videos and I watch movies and I research and I take advantage of all this extra time that I have. And then I took the exact catalyst and I added something from my mindset and put that into the mix, and the catalyst now became the ability to learn all these things in the same amount of time as other people because they were busy asleep. And I was using something that was a catalyst in my life, affecting me in a very negative way, change the approach and turn it into something that's overly beneficial and something that if I never did, I probably wouldn't even created Mistech. I would not be on the show with you guys right now. And so we never know what these catalysts are going to do or how big or small they're going to affect us. All that we can do is be mindful that the catalysts are there and do our best to navigate as we, kind of glide and explode left and right through this crazy thing we call life, and becoming an alchemist and understanding that all things are energy and physics apply to us the same way they apply to other things, understanding that as the elemental natures of earth, water, air, wind, these things, as those things apply to us as well, applying the pattern, applying the control, understanding the emotion that you have is not the emotion that you have to have, right? Understanding the choice of it all. These are all the things that will bring your life into much more balance, but it first has to be something that you want to be honest with for yourself and understand that it's going to take time, that it's going to be a process. But as long as you're paying attention to what you're looking at and you're really seeing it, then you have the ability to steer the course any direction that you want to. You even have the ability to go backwards and start over, which sounds really interesting, and it sounds difficult. But the thing is, going back is just repeating the exact same pattern and having a different outcome by choosing to. So you can be in the exact same scenario multiple times and just have different reactions because you're looking for the catalyst and now have a new future, right? I'm not saying literally traveling back in time. I'm saying doing a job interview week after week after week. That's that same pattern. Now doing one more and going back and doing this one differently than the way you did it before is like going back in time, because you have to understand what you did wrong the first time before you can change it to do it the right time, right? So your catalysts are always working for you. You just have to be aware of them and keep that perspective in mind. Guys, this is Halo Marquise, Alchemy 101. Next week, I think I'm actually going to have my son on. He wants to talk to you guys about some things learned at the festival, some things about the Order of Alchemy, and just some fun things, man. So Monte's going to be on with me next week. Go to mistech.net if you want to find out more about the biotech. Check me out on Artists First for all archive shows. Halo Marquise, the Alchemist, guys. Have a good night. Love you. I am here.
Did you hear